ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. You to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for SCCA Trans Am racing on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Larry Nuber. This is race number 8 in the Trans Am series this year. All different varieties of cars competing, including Mercurs. We have Porsches and we have even Olds Toronados. And throughout the year, Larry, SCCA has tried to create parity within this division.
Bob, they have tried to do so, and I guess depending on which side of the fence you're standing on, the rules have either been unstable or dynamic. That is to say that they have changed a lot this year. The Mercurs are still the strongest team. They have won all but one of the races, and at least the other competitors can see that SCCA is trying to even things up, and they go to each race with at least new thoughts that, well, maybe we'll be a little closer this time. Now, qualifying this weekend, the Mercurs are still on top, has produced, however, its own set of rarities.
And with a couple of driver stories, let's go to our pit reporter for the day, Gary Lee.
Thank you, Bob. Larry, good afternoon. In Trans Am competition, the first 5 starting positions are locked in after qualifying on Friday. But yesterday's session was wet, so this morning's session was much faster, and the fastest driver in the field right now appears to be Paul Newman, but he can start no better than 6th. A very interesting story is back here at the back of the pack. The only other driver to crack victory lane this year besides a Mercur driver is Elliott Forbes Robertson in this Porsche. Now, technically, he should be up toward the front of the pack. However, the car was found to be 6 pounds underweight. Consequently, his run was disqualified. He is starting all the way back here in 35th and last position. So, Bob, it should be interesting to watch the progress of car number 11 with EFR from the back of the pack.
He's, of course, driving the Olivetti Porsche 944. And here's a starting lineup for this 100-mile race. On the front row will be Scott Pruitt in car number 2, his teammate Pete Halsmer alongside in number 3. In row number 2, Paul Gentilossi in number 81, that's a Tornado, and Jerry Thompson in car 77, a Beretta. In row number 3 will be Dick Danielson driving car number 65, a Somerset, alongside Paul Newman in number 33, that's a Nissan 300ZX. The 4th row, number 8, Les Lindley, and 42, Bruce Jenner. Going to row number 5, it's Hoerr in 71 and Jim DeHaag in 40. In row number 6, Deborah Gregg will drive car number 4 and Bill Doyle, 53. In the 7th row, Bruce Nesbitt in number 50 and Jim Fitzgerald in car number 38. In row number 8, car 13, Gary Fouch and 99, Mark Peelsticker. In the 9th row, Larry Park in car 79 and Rick Dittman in 24. The 10th row consists of Dwayne Smith and Bob Sobey. In row number 11, it'll be Russ Newman and Jerry Clinton. In row number 12, Craig Schaefer and Michael Kehoe. Going in row number 13 will be Del Russo Taylor and Breach Kaufman. In the 14th row, Donald Sack and Tim Taylor. Row number 15 consists of John Schneider and Chip Boatwright. In the 16th row will be Ron Deppert and Jerry Dunbar. Row number 17 consists of Philip Bartelt and Jim Kidd. And all alone in row number 18 will be Elliott Forbes Robinson in the number 11 Porsche 944. So we'll be back with the start of our 100-mile Trans Am race from Road America and Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, right after these messages.
You are about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil. Now Quaker State has a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing to vital engine parts. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make.
12-meter boats are able to sail within inches of each other without collision because they observe an age-old system of right-of-way. All sailors follow the same basic rules. Here, this Pearson 39 has the wind coming from over the right or starboard side, while the crossing Pearson has the wind coming from the left or port side. Port tack yields to starboard tack. Following the rules of the road is something that the American Sailing Association wants all sailors to do.
If you've ever thought of starting a business, or if you already have, the Wall Street Journal could open some new doors for you. And more important, help keep them open.
Call 800-372-3000 for this special introductory offer. 13 weeks for just $29.75 with a money-back guarantee. 13 weeks, $29.75. Phone 800-372-3000 now for the Wall Street Journal.
Back at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Road America, getting set for a 100-mile, 25-lap Trans Am race. And this is a very interesting race course. It's 4 miles in length, and besides that, it has 14 corners, each very distinctive. Larry?
Well, Bob, there are actually 14 turns as we traditionally know Elkhart Lake, but actually there are only 11. We classify these turns based on the corner worker station number. The long front stretch, this is the second half of the 3/4 mile front stretch. You're going uphill here, you're approaching a hard right-hander. That's turn number 1. Turn number 1, believe it or not, there's turn 2. It's corner worker station 2 classified there. Around turn number 3 near the Corvette Corral. Then the drivers approach one of the downhill sections of the racetrack. They are going past what is known as the speed trap as they head for the bottom of the hill, turn 5, a hard left-hander, one of the hardest braking points on the track. Back uphill underneath the Nissan Bridge, or the old Corvette Bridge for you people who have been coming here to Road America for the last 20 years. And then to a series of S-turns, turns 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. The crews tell us that is perhaps the most critical point on this racetrack because there's a lot of rapid accelerations, a rapid deceleration. You have to move around the carousel. You're headed toward the kink, the fastest part of the racetrack. The speeds of the Trans Am cars will reach about 170 miles per hour before braking hard for a right-hander, turn 12, the Canada corner. Downhill here again, underneath the Billy Mitchell Bridge, turn 13, turn 14, the slowest point on the racetrack, and back uphill toward the start-finish line, a 3/4 mile stretch.
And the cars are now moving through turns 12 and 13. We'll be approaching the final corner of the course and then hopefully onto the straightaway to get a green flag. It wasn't until just a few minutes ago when the cars gridded here on the main stretch in front of us that we knew whether or not Paul Newman was going to be in this race. He had a crash earlier in the day, and they did get the car repaired in time, and he'll be starting from his assigned position in the 6th spot outside of row number 3. So we'll keep an eye on Paul Newman as he qualified at 106.94, and that is the fastest, but because they're using 2 qualifying sessions here, one from yesterday and one from today, he will start back in 6th.
A marvelous variety of manufacturers. 11 others, I'll call them others, will take the Lincoln Mercury Mercurs to task. That is the goal in Trans Am racing, at least in 1987. How can anybody beat the Mercurs that sit on the pole again here at Elkhart Lake?
Field moving through the final corner, you can see in the very back of the pack there, that is Elliott Forbes Robinson in the Porsche. Had to start there because he was 6 pounds underweight when he was checked by the SCCA officials. Look at the move being made by Deborah Craig, and we have a Paul Newman. Very beginning, Paul Newman again slides off course, but apparently is not going to lose any positions. As a matter of fact, they did not get the green flag. Very ragged start.
No green flag. I guess EFR was really playing it smart, Bob. You saw him holding way back there. Newman apparently has some body damage, at least rubbing against one of the wheels. Paul is trying to pull off. He's going to try and turn around and get back to the pits. We're right near the exit to the pit area, but Paul Newman has had his problems today. It's been a real difficult Saturday for one PL Newman.
It certainly has. Here is a replay of what happened. He got rear-ended, it looked like, and punted off course. May have made slight contact with the concrete barrier there on the straightaway and obviously did damage to the car that is going to put him out of competition already. So Paul Newman sits along the main straightaway and appears to be out of today's SCCA Trans Am from Road America.
Everyday stress, mental and physical, can not only ruin your day, but it can also ruin your health. An effective way of relieving both mental and physical stress is with the use of therapeutic massage. And now, for less than the cost of a professional massage, you can learn the art of therapeutic massage to help relieve that stress. And you can do it in the privacy of your own home with the High Energy Therapeutic Massage Home Video. High Energy is a licensed massage therapy program that can teach you the proper techniques of therapeutic massage in a step-by-step instructional video. It's easy, it's fun, it feels great, it helps relieve stress, and it's only $39.95. That's right, you can learn the art of therapeutic massage in your own home for just $39.95. Do yourself a favor, reward yourself, and learn therapeutic massage. Call 1-800-USA-1415. Help yourself to a healthier and stress-free life. Call 1-800-USA-1415. Have your credit card ready. This video is not available in stores. Call 1-800-USA-1415.
All the names, all the games, all the time. Only on ESPN.
Getting set for a restart of our Bendix Trans Am race here at Road America. The first attempt was involving an accident with Paul Newman, and they red flagged it. Let's go to the pit area. Gary Lee, who is with Paul Newman.
It has been a very difficult, trying weekend for P.L. Newman. First, what happened just most recently?
Well, I don't seem to be able to stay on the asphalt on this track. It's one of the great tracks here, and I don't know. I have terrible luck here.
Were you booted from the rear?
Oh, no, the engine went.
Okay, let's go back to earlier today when you were fast in qualifications and then we went off in the carousel. What happened then?
Brain fade. I thought it was time to take a nap. I don't know, just general all-around stupidity. But the thing that's really shameful is these guys put the car back together again in 3 hours and never got a chance to see it run.
So disappointed, but yet still a bit of wit from Paul Newman.
So Paul watches this race from the pit area, and Phil Bartelt has also pulled in. So we have 33 cars that are set to take the green flag. They're coming around the final corner on the main straightaway, and hopefully in just a moment we'll get a good start to this 25-lap race.
And Bob, if you're familiar with Trans Am racing, normally each time you pass the start-finish line after the grid rolls off, the laps count. In this case, there was a red flag before the race began. We revert back to an original start. The cars have been topped off with fuel, and we will go 100 laps. And look at the move. Is that Les Lindley moving up? Yes, it is.
He's going to fall into second position at the drop of the green flag, passing several cars. They go into turn number 1, and it's going to be Scott Pruitt in the lead with Les Lindley in second, and then Pete Halsmer. But a fine move by Les Lindley, grabbing second from his starting position of 7.
Lindley started, as you mentioned, Bob, in 7th position. He moved up 5 positions, and he is challenging the early leader, Scott Pruitt. Now, I have seen no scrambling around or no indications that SCCA considers that to be an unfair start. Les just got a great jump, and look at Elliott Forbes Robinson trying to find some open lane. He's already passed about 8 or 9 cars, and EFR is trying to move through the pack.
He has got a long way to go, though, to the front of the pack, but he will thread his way through traffic as best he can into turn number 5. That is Les Lindley running right behind the leader, Scott Pruitt. Elliott Forbes Robinson on the tail of the field at the start because of being underweight, but he is moving up quickly, but as I said, has a long way to go.
That is the bottom of the first hill here at Elkhart Lake, turn number 5. You began to move uphill as the teams, again, we're going back to that corner as they round that. They're working their way around this 4-mile course. Remember, the turns, it is said that there are 14 turns, but in actuality there are 11 turns on this, but we will continue to go with the traditional numbering system for all the corners here at Elkhart Lake.
Speeds near 170 miles an hour at the fastest portion of this race course. There you can see the leaders filing through corner number 12, and Very short straightaway onto the 13th corner.
Coming off what is known as the Kettle Moraine sweep, Bob. There's a little kink
car
there.
smoking.
Lots of smoke coming from somebody. It appeared to be the fourth running Jerry Thompson, the number 77 machine, dropping some smoke out as he got out of the binders. Maybe just hit the brakes a little too hard, going into Canada Corner. They are rumbling through Thunder Valley right now. Turns 13 and 14, headed for turn 14. The last right-hander, the last turn before the 3/4 mile long straightaway. It's flat down there at that end of the racetrack, and it's a very tricky turn. You can see the front stretch is uphill.
Here comes the completion of lap number 1. It is Scott Pruitt in the lead with Les Lindley running in second, and Paul Gentilossi in car number 81 making a move.
And look at Lindley. Lindley is challenging Pruitt coming down the front stretch here, going up to turn number 1, and Les Lindley really has the V6 Camaro percolating here today.
Well, it appeared as if Lindley may have had the advantage to the inside of the racetrack going into corner number 1, but instead Scott Pruitt held off the challenge, and Pruitt holds on to that number 1 position, but Les Lindley is right there behind, and so is Pete Halsmer trailing in 3rd position.
All right, keep your eyes now on Lindley in that yellow Camaro. Lindley really appears to have the hot setup here early on.
Here he
Lindley's
goes.
got the line, Bob, going into turn number 5. Lindley's going to take over first place. Now Pete Halsmer perhaps will take up the chase on teammate Pruitt.
A very impressive showing for Les Lindley here in the early going of this race. He has grabbed the lead from the cars that have been so dominant in this series this year. The Mercures prepared by Jack Roush, but at the drop of the green, Lindley in the Camaro fell into 2nd position, and now he has passed Scott Pruitt for the lead. Lindley's from Anaheim, California.
Bob, you know, a week ago at Bristol, Tennessee, in a Busch Grand National race, we saw the emergence, or the continuing emergence, of Hoosier tires. Guess what Les Lindley is on? Yeah, Goodyear has been the dominant tire in this series for quite a number of years, but Les Lindley is on, let's not call them experimental, let's call them revolutionary. At least it's another tire manufacturer that's into this type of racing.
Now Lindley begins to stretch out the advantage a little bit on Scott Pruitt. And we also have a new 3rd place machine. I believe that Jerry Thompson, the number 77, has gone into 3rd. And now is challenging for, no, that's Paul Gentilossi in car number 81 that has moved into 3rd spot, passing Pete Halsmer. And now Gentilossi is right on the back bumper of Scott Pruitt. So that Olds Toronado, driven by Paul Gentilossi, is also working well, and so is the Camaro of Les Lindley. He has the lead at the completion of 2 laps. Back with more right after these messages.
If you love cars, you'll love Auto Week. Every week, Auto Week puts you inside the world's most exciting cars. GTs, sports sedans, collector cars, 4x4s, front drivers. Auto Week makes you an insider with industry news, personality profiles, old cars, columnists, the best classified anywhere. And nobody covers racing like Auto Week. You get the fastest coverage of Formula One, sports cars, stockers, Indy cars, with columnists who race and win. Let Auto Week put you behind the wheel every week. Call 1-800-554-3000. Only ESPN viewers can get this special Labor Day weekend price. Just $16.25 for 52 issues. That's 75% off the newsstand price. But you must call now for these savings. 1-800-554-3000. Let Auto Week put you in the driver's seat.
Bob Jenkins, Larry Nuber, and Gary Lee back at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for SCCA Bendix Trans Am. The leader is Les Lindley. Some misfortune for Elliott Forbes Robinson. Here's Gary.
Well, EFR was making his move to the back of the pack. Apparently, the engine developed a misfire in the Porsche 944. So right now, the crew has pulled off the front hood. They're checking over the engine. EFR is in the cockpit. However, we asked earlier about how they got the additional weight. We had alluded to the fact that he would have been like 4th in the starting grid, but the car was determined to be 4 pounds light after qualifying. Well, they've added the wheel fans. These are the units on the side of the wheel that actually directs the air into the braking area to keep the rotor cool. They say that with the plastic and the bolts, they can add 4 pounds. So he'll be legal, but it's really a moot subject right now because the engine will likely sideline EFR.
All right, thank you, Gary. On the racetrack, some good racing. We have about, 8 cars running right together on the racetrack. And here is a move.
Bruce Jenner, Bob, going to the inside of the number 65 car of Dick Danielson.
Oh, collision.
They appear to be hooked. I guess so. Jenner's in trouble. Jenner's car slowed significantly after coming around that corner.
He was hit by Hoerr and then got punted off course and now appears to have suffered some kind of damage to the car and is not up to full speed.
Bob, the significance about the early laps here of the Trans Am race at Elkhart Lake as we go back to look at what happened in that last incident at the bottom of turn 5. Back to the store in a second. There's Jenner in the number 42 car. He goes over the curb on the inside. Here comes Hoerr. Suddenly, Hoerr is right up against Jenner, and I don't think it was a result of the contact that Jenner slowed. Something had gone wrong with Bruce's car prior to Hoerr moving up there. Hoerr got some body damage out of it.
He was waving his hand, indicating to those behind him that something had gone wrong to the car, but Hoerr just had no place to go. The number 63 car of Jerry Clinton is in the pit area with some heavy smoke coming from the engine compartment of that machine.
From the body damage, it's probably an overheating problem. There is Jenner unbuckling and getting out of the car. Bruce Jenner, no, this is not the Olympian. This is the Australian who has turned his talents to Trans Am racing the last couple of seasons, and he's really made a big dent this year. Of course, EFR runs in his stable. Bad luck for both of his stable cars today, but Bruce Jenner coming on strong in Trans Am. Bob, back to the significance of the early laps here with the number 8 car of Les Lindley taking over the lead. Those were the first leading laps of the year by a Chevrolet car, either a Camaro or a Corvette or anything. And the other significance is Scott Pruitt has been dropping back. A number of people passed both Scott Pruitt and Pete Halsmer, but you can see that Halsmer is caught back up to Lindley, and Halsmer is running a challenging second. There is Scott Pruitt, who has dropped back to about 10th position, and the car is visibly going slower. Now he's coming in.
Yeah, he is coming in for a stop. So Scott Pruitt, pole sitter in this race, who ran second for so long, is coming in for a pit stop, and the Jack Roush crew will try to determine what is wrong with this Merkur. Scott Pruitt into the pits. He rolls to a stop, and the crew begins to raise the hood. Now, as we were read between the accident that we had with Paul Newman and the actual start of this race, they had the hood off of Scott Pruitt's car and were looking at it so as to indicate that the car may have been having some problems on the pace lap. And now here he is in the pit area with some smoke coming from it, and it does not look good for Scott Pruitt, who has won 4 times this year in Trans Am competition. Back to the leaders. That is Les Lindley still leading, with Pete Halsmer running in 2nd position and Paul Gentilossi 3rd.
Gentilossi, while we were in our last break, by the way, had a brief stint in 2nd. He had moved through some heavy traffic and had placed that Toronado all the way into 2nd position, but Halsmer outbroke him at the end of the long front stretch. By the way, during that red flag period that Bob mentioned, the radios were abuzz with many of the crew saying, we can't get the cars cooled down. Apparently, the turbo power of the 150 cubic inch Merkurs just didn't take well to that unexpected stoppage after our first aborted start.
The number 71 car, which is driven by Hoerr, there he is. Now notice the front end damage on that car. That's the damage that Hoerr inflicted when he had a collision with the Bruce Jenner machine coming up the hill after corner number 5. You can see there's quite a bit of body damage to the front end of that number 71 car, the old Toronado, driven by Hoerr from Peoria, Illinois. Hoerr right now in 6th position, so it appears as if perhaps that body damage is not going to have a significant effect on the handling or the running of that car. We'll be back with more from Road America in a moment.
You, a time to race with the wind, to run free. That's only a dream for some kids, but you can help them fight to make that dream come true. Every time you buy Budweiser and Bud Light, you help us make a contribution to the Muscular Dystrophy Association. So look for this display where you buy Bud and Bud Light. And remember, you really make it work.
You can keep on moving with Twix. To keep an eye on the kids was all she said.
Splash, splish. There's a kid in the fish.
But who's got eyes in the back of his head?
Gotta get a steak, gotta get a Twix.
Chocolate caramel, satisfaction. Like crispy cookie, let you stay in the action.
Won't slow you down when you gotta get around.
Twix keeps you hopping while you're mopping the floor. There goes the Twix right out the door. Keep on moving with Twix.
Stand up and cheer. It's live college football on ESPN. Every Saturday, America's hardest-hitting roster of nationally ranked powers provides exciting action on television's best college football schedule. UCLA battles Big 8 power Nebraska in a showdown of potential national champions. Live Saturday at 5 Eastern, only on ESPN.
We are 6 laps into a 25-lap SCCA Bendix Trans Am race at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and Les Lindley continues to hold on the lead in his Camaro. Pete Halsmer is running in second, followed by Paul Gentilossi. Then in fourth position is the number 65 car of Dick Danielson, and in fifth, the 77 car of Jerry Thompson. Scott Pruitt, pole sitter, has climbed out of his Mercure as work continues on that machine.
Scott Pruitt, who has won 4 times in 1987. His teammate Pete Halsmer has won twice, and the only other non-Mercure winner has been Elliott Forbes Robinson. He, too, has dropped out of the race. Back up front to Les Lindley. Not only has Les Lindley not won yet in 1987, his career best finish is a second. So Les Lindley could be en route to his first ever career win.
Gary Lee is in the Scott Pruitt pit. Perhaps he can tell us more on what's wrong with that car.
Well, Pruitt just pulled the helmet off, and as you alluded to earlier, there was a problem with overheating early on with that additional pace lap. The car overheated. Jack Roush said, we feel like we blew a water hose someplace. We're checking for it right now. Obviously, the problem has been more serious than just overheating. As Scott is out and the helmet is off, we'll have a word with Scott momentarily. Bob?
All right. In the meantime, he sees his teammate out on the race course, still running in that second spot, but certainly a big disappointment for Scott Pruitt. 4 times a winner this year in Trans Am.
You just saw Jerry Thompson go by, the man who has moved over from American Challenge Racing. He leads a group of about 3 or 4 drivers that have moved over from other types of racing. That's 65 there. Dick Danielson is another one from American Challenge Racing. And, of course, Hoerr was a man who was virtually unbeatable in that type of racing last year, and he's done quite well for himself this year. Gentilossi, by the way, perhaps has made his most significant mark. He's in that, remember, that white Tornado right there leading that pack. He's made his most significant mark in IMSA GTO racing.
Some pretty good competition here for 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and even 7th position. There are the front 2. And a little while ago, the 3rd place runner, Paul Gentilossi, got the car a little bit sideways. He didn't lose any position, but now he may lose the spot.
Look at Danielson.
Indeed, Dick Danielson in car number 65.
He took it in there pretty hot, but he held on. He loses some ground. Gentilossi has got the line. He's got the momentum, but number 65, Danielson, moves down and takes it away from him.
Just great racing here among 5 cars as they are really going at it. Gentilossi has lost a spot now to Dick Danielson, but it's 3 abreast racing.
That was Hoerr, Bob, making a move that time. He goes to the inside of another competitor, picks up a position. Hoerr looked like he had enough room. There goes Durhag. Durhag moves through, and Jim Durhag, they're the 4th car in line, and they're to the inside.
Nice pass again by Gentilossi in corner number 5. So he takes 3rd position back from Dick Danielson, who, by the way, is the hometown favorite. His hometown is Heartland, Wisconsin, so he has a lot of fans rooting for him here this afternoon. Elliott Forbes Robinson is getting back into his Porsche 944, and he's many laps down, but will go back out there. And Gary Lee is with Scott Pruitt.
Well, Scott, despite the fact you're well up in points in the Trans Am Championship, it really doesn't make you feel any better after today's start. What was the overheating problem? What precipitated that?
It looks like one of the fittings broke. One of the fittings that came out of the side of the block looks like it had a crack in it or broke or something, and that put us out of the race.
Is there any chance now you might go into one of the team cars, or are you a spectator for the rest of the race?
I'm afraid I'm a spectator for the rest of the race.
So the helmet is off, and he is finished for the afternoon.
Scott Pruitt, leader in Trans Am points with 127. As a matter of fact, he has a commanding lead in the points. tied for second in the point standings, only 62 for both Lindley and Jim Durhog. But Scott Pruitt with a very comfortable lead in the point standings. Les Lindley continues to lead this race, and as we told you, he has never won a Trans Am race. A little earlier, we had a chance to talk to him about winning.
The top teams seem to be winning with regularity, and you're right there knocking at the door. Is that frustrating?
Yes, it is. We've had a long discussion with SCCA over the turbos, which we feel they have a decisive advantage over us. And we're trying as hard as we can. We've gone as far as we can as far as speed and everything else. We have gone faster in the car than they did last year. We qualified it faster, but yet we still can't win.
Well, Les Lindley is doing a little bit more than knocking on the door, at least in the first 8 laps of this race here this afternoon at Road America. He has broken it down and is continuing to hold the advantage over Pete Halsmer in the Mercure.
Well, Bob, the V6s, which is what Les has, they're at 275 cubic inches. They're rated about 500 horsepower. The turbos that he was talking about, they're just at 150 cubic inches, but the horsepower, well, it's anybody's guess. It's well up into the 600, perhaps above 650. Now, the Mercures have had some weight added on to them this year in an effort to strive even closer toward that word we used at the top of the show, parity. And at least today here at Elkhart Lake, it looks like Les's Camaro really has a slight edge.
Again, we're following the battle for third position. At the moment, Dick Danielson holds it. Paul Gentilozzi is in fourth. They move to the high side of the racetrack and pass one of the back markers, one of the slower cars in competition. But there are 6 cars here racing for position, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, while the first 2, Halsmer and Lindley, have pulled away.
It's a great battle, and that is Deborah Gregg, who's at the tail of that group of 6 cars. Bob mentioned there's a lap car in there, but there are 6 that are right in there, almost representative of that race for second in points. We have 4 cars in this year's Trans Am Series that are within 2 points. Yes, 4 cars within 2 points for second place in the season-long standings. Les Lindley, Jim Durhog, Pete Halsmer, and Deborah Gregg. It doesn't really make any difference which one's got the 2-point advantage. They're that close.
Now Danielson puts a little bit of racetrack between himself and Paul Gentilozzi. And there you can continue to see that damage at the front end of the Hoerr car as he is right now running in 5th.
Gentilozzi's car is also turbo-powered. It is a V8, an Oldsmobile Toronado. This is the closest to the front we have seen that car run in Trans Am competition. He's relatively new in this type of racing. Obviously in the car, you can see that Hoerr is right now putting him through his paces and testing right now Gentilozzi uphill down the front stretch.
And Deborah Gregg looks like she's in a position to move up another spot. Indeed, she does, passing the 77 car of Jerry Thompson. So that puts her in 7th.
Deborah Gregg, whose best finish was at Lime Rock, the last race on the Trans Am Trail when she finished 4th. But she has put together 2 5ths this year and 3 other top 10 races. Deborah Gregg has not been an experiment. She is a solid racer. She's been given excellent equipment, but when the green flag drops, she is very strong. Deborah Gregg, one of the best female competitors in the United States. We ask her about women in racing. You're making a dent. You're making it very obvious that a woman certainly can handle herself in the professional level of racing.
Well, you know, I hope so. I mean, I don't think any of us are doing it to prove anything in the world today because, you know, women in business are there more often. And I think because of that, it's helped us a lot. And the ground had been broken earlier. And so it's not such a microscopic thing that we're in. Like, we are a little honed in on because we are unique. I mean, if you reckon how many men are here this weekend that are driving race cars and how many women are here driving race cars. Robin doesn't have a race this weekend. Patty Moise is in Grand National. She's not racing here this weekend. Lynn St. James races in IMSA. I'm sure she's here, but they're not racing, so you're sort of like, well, you're the only girl walking around in this funny-looking 3-layer driving suit. The IndyCar guys are kind of giving you the strange eye, like, you know, what is this broad coming from? But it's a lot nicer nowadays. I think the men are a lot more open-minded, and it's a lot of fun.
That's Deborah Gregg, who is in 7th position in the Roush prepared car number 4, the Mercury Capri. So we continue to have Les Lindley in the lead with Pete Halsmer in 2nd position, and the number 65 car of Dick Danielson in 3rd. Then this group of 5 cars battling for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And Paul Gentilossi getting a challenge from Hoerr as Hoerr has positioned himself right on the back bumper of that number 81 car of Gentilossi. They come down the straightaway. Hoerr has already put some damage to the front end of that car when he had an encounter with Bruce Jenner. And now look at Deborah Gregg, who is to the inside going into turn number 1, and she passes 1, 2. She almost had the third car picked off.
What an outstanding front stretch run for Deborah Gregg, as she not only out-horsepowered them down the front stretch, so to speak, but out-braked at least 2 competitors, and as Bob mentioned, almost got the third. I was about to mention that Hoerr has a Tornado also. This is a Buick V6, but watch for Deborah Gregg now on the left-hand side of your screen. There's yellow trim on her Lincoln Mercury product, roaring out of the pack down the front stretch. She goes by Durhag, goes by Gentilossi, and Mark Pielsticker.
Mark Pielsticker from Oakland, California, and the Performance Plus Camaro has crashed. Looks like he encountered a dirt bank, and that's in turn number 1.
Yeah, right at the end of that long front stretch, Bob, there's a nice runoff area, and Mark has skated over the entirety of it. There's about 30 yards of gravel out there. Mark had a good run at it, and that's a terminal problem. One of the fastest cars on the straightaways, if not the fastest this weekend.
That gravel, of course, designed to slow the car down before hitting any kind of a barrier. Back with more after this message.
Man has always been fascinated with speed. But winning is more than a quest for speed. It's a measure of skill, a test of guts. And though NASCAR has changed through the decades, its spirit never will. It's not just the machine, it's the man who drives it. We're proud to be a part of this great sport. Busch, the official beer of NASCAR.
Hey, look, it's raining Del Monte Tropical Fruit Mix.
It's delicious. Pineapple, papaya, coconut, raisins, all mixed into one. Yummy, luscious.
Wait, slow down.
Oh, how's that?
It's better. Now we can savor the taste.
Right.
Exotic papaya, juicy raisins, sweet pineapple.
Stop.
Let me try them. Okay, go for it.
So what do you think?
Now that's a big taste. Enormous.
Colossal.
From the big name in snacks.
Ooh.
In Del Monte Fruit Snacks, taste Raiden Supreme.
You can say that again.
In Del Monte Fruit Snacks, taste Raiden Supreme.
We hope you're enjoying today's SCCA Bendix Trans Am race from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. More than halfway through this race, Jim Durhag, who is right behind Gentilossi and in fact pulls right up on his rear bumper at some times. Durhag is one of those who is right up there in the point standings. He is tied with Les Lindley, the leader of this race, for second. Now let's watch here on the straightaway. Perhaps Durhag can make a move. No, instead it appears that Gentilossi pulls away just a little bit.
Oh, that Tornado, that turbo kicks in on the big V8. And Durhag, who is laboring up the hill there, also with the V8, but he doesn't have that extra turbo kick to propel him. But look at Durhag. He makes a very good turn number 1. Durhag gets the line coming out of turn number 1. As they approach turn number 3, Durhag's got the line. A good driving job by Jim.
And so Durhag moves up a position, and that puts him in the 5th position at the moment.
You know what they'll tell you on a road course? It's not so important how you enter a turn. It's the exit speed, and that was a great example that Jim Durhag just turned in. Bob, we're going to go back up front and look at Les Lindley, and he's been bringing his lap times down. Apparently, he has been doing good in the category of not abusing the tires, because as the fuel load lessens, the car gets overall lighter. Lindley is picking up steam. He's now down in the 217s. The lap record is about at 217, so Lindley is approaching that.
So Hallsberg is in second, but has quite a bit of distance between himself and the leader. Let's go to Gary Lee.
Well, let's once again address the tire situation, and if that will play in strategy. We were talking to Jack Roush about the strategy right now for Pete Hallsberg. Hallsberg does not have a radio on board. Jack Roush says we're racing. We're going as fast as we can. We're not holding back, but there may be something wrong with the car. But we don't know that because the car is heavy as it is now. We do not want to use the added weight that it would take to have an onboard radio. So we're using the old pit board signal signs. They don't know if there may be something wrong with the car. But as far as the tires, we know for a fact that Pete has a very hard compound, so the race could come back to him. We're not so sure right now on Les Lindley. He's He's not abusing the tires, apparently, according to the lap times, but he may have started the race on a softer tire. If that's the case, Pete may have the race come back to him as we near the finish.
And we've still got 10 more laps to go, and you would think that on a course of the size of this, a radio would be almost essential because it's 4 miles around here, and there's a long distance between the time you see the pit board and the next time you see the pit board. Now, Pete Halsmer is the defending champion of this race. He won with a turbo here last year and really began Lincoln Mercury's run for the Manufacturers' Championship. Of course, they're well ahead in the point standings this year. We've completed 14 of 25 laps here at Road America in the SCCA Bendix Trans Am.
Everyday stress, mental and physical, can not only ruin your day, but it can also ruin your health. An effective way of relieving both mental and physical stress is with the use of therapeutic massage. And now, for less than the cost of a professional massage, you can learn the art of therapeutic massage to help relieve that stress. And you can do it in the privacy of your own home with the High Energy Therapeutic Massage Home Video. High Energy is a licensed massage therapy program that can teach you the proper techniques of therapeutic massage in a step-by-step instructional video. It's easy, it's fun, it feels great, it helps relieve stress, and it's only $39.95. That's right, you can learn the art of therapeutic massage in your own home for just $39.95. Do yourself a favor, reward yourself, and learn therapeutic massage. Call 1-800-USA-1415. Help yourself to a healthier and stress-free life. Call 1-800-USA-1415. Have your credit card ready. This video is not available in stores. Call 1-800-USA-1415.
In Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, where Les Lindley has just a slight advantage now over Pete Halsmer. The interval only a few car lengths. Just a couple of laps ago, it was over 1 second. So Halsmer may be closing in and in a challenging position soon to Les Lindley, who has led this race since the second lap.
Look at the turbo power. Apparently we say that because there are more horsepowers underneath the hood of that turbo Mercure than under the V6 of Les Lindley. Theoretically, Les should be able to squirt around the corners in the S sections of this racetrack quicker than what Pete Halsmer. 500 horsepower versus, is it 230, 240, 250? Can Halsmer get him at the end of the straightaway? Halsmer appears to be setting him up. No, not quite enough time this time. Now, the key for Pete Halsmer will be to stay as close as he can to the curvy sections of the racetrack. He's got one more downhill straightaway coming after 2 turns. This is the second of those 2 right-handers. They'll go downhill now. Halsmer will see if he can get close as they go downhill, then through the S section of the track.
Should Les Lindley hold off and win this race here, it will break the Mercure Porsche wins this year, the win streak that these two have. The last time a Camaro won was at Sears Point last year, but Lindley has looked very strong in that Camaro in this race.
Bob, the race's fastest lap record was, yes, I said was, 2 minutes, 17 seconds and small change. I described it earlier. It was set by Pete Halsmer last year. Les Lindley is creeping down. He was at 2:18, then 2:17.8, then 2:17.4, 2:17.3. But while all this has been going on, EFR has returned to the racetrack. He has the brand new race fastest lap record at 2:16.9. So despite being lapped down, the Porsche is showing its power.
And you begin to wonder whether or not Pete Halsmer is using the full boost on this car, whether he's just biding his time. We've still got 6 more laps to go. So it could be he'll turn the wick up on that turbocharger here in the next couple of laps and perhaps leave less in his wake. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But in any case, it's been a strong performance by Les Lindley so far today.
Yeah, you mentioned 6 laps, but just multiply that by 2 in your head because most racetracks are in the vicinity of 2 miles long. We're 4 miles around here at Elkhart Lake. So 6 laps is 24 miles, almost a quarter of this race.
And Deborah Gregg in car number 4 has moved into 3rd position. Good performance by Deborah. Right behind her is the 65 car of Dick Danielson. So Deborah Gregg has one of those Roush prepared cars now in the 3rd position. Of course, Halsmer, her teammate, in 2nd.
Boy, she has had a good day. She's been as fast here on lap number 8, 17, 18 as she was at the drop of the green flag. And just to show everybody that I guess Jack Roush can prepare more than Mercurs. This is a Capri that Greg is in.
Now Pete Halsmer, once again, is within a few feet or car lengths of Les Lindley as we're working lap number 20 of this 25-lap race.
Bob, I don't think that we can even begin to describe the difference in emotions between Les Lindley and Pete Halsmer. Les Lindley has never won one of these races. Pete Halsmer has driven everything, including Indianapolis cars, and almost won in an Indianapolis car race. Pete Halsmer definitely has the emotional edge, and Les Lindley is a much cooler cucumber than all of us suspect. Now, he's got a lot of experience in this type of racing, so he certainly knows Trans Am racing, but he would very much like to sneak in that first career win.
Pete Halsmer already has 2 victories this year in Trans Am, but as Larry mentioned, Les Lindley has never won in this series. Now, Pete is trailing and at times appears to be in a position to strike and move into the lead, but so far that has just not happened. This is one of the most demanding race courses on brakes. Here is a quick fact. Quick Facts are brought to you by New Quaker State with QSX. Keeps your engine cleaner to last longer.
For many years, road racers have utilized air to cool the brakes. Now it's a combination of air and water. They carry on board about 5 gallons of water. Some small pumps will circulate that water through the lines to the rear brakes and down to the front brakes. The water is dumped off right here in the air intake, giving that mixture up against the rotor. Now, just the air would keep the brakes at about 1,200 degrees, but a combination of air and water will cool the brakes to about 1,000 degrees.
The leaders once again, Les Lindley and Pete Halsmer. 20 laps are completed, 5 more to go, and they are approaching slower traffic, which could very definitely play a factor in this race as we go through the last 5 laps. There you can see Lindley weaving his way through. Halsmer now to the inside, passing a slower car. He gets through okay.
They each got through as efficiently as the other hot knife through the butter, but Halsmer did not have to deviate his line quite as much as Lindley did. Doesn't seem like either one of them gained or lost much of an advantage, but something to keep in mind. Les just didn't have the cars that he was lapping set up properly as he came down the front stretch. He's held up right now momentarily.
He's being held up momentarily, although he's going to get by now by the number 39 car driven by Craig Schaefer from Somerset, Pennsylvania. But he passes him easily, and now Scott Pruitt, or rather Pete Halsmer, will also attempt to do so. He does, going into corner number 5. So for the moment, the 2 up front guys have weaved through some slower traffic, and everything is well here at Road America.
You are about to see the smartest oil change you can make. Introducing a new Quaker State motor oil. Now Quaker State has a revolutionary formula called QSX. QSX fights engine choking sludge better than other leading oils to keep oil flowing to vital engine parts. For a cleaner, longer-lasting engine, change your oil. Really change your oil to new Quaker State with QSX, the smartest oil change you can make.
This is my lava machine. This is my lava machine. Lava liquid. In 30 years of working with my hands, I've never used a hand cleaner like it. Power of pumice in a liquid. Feel it, powering away dirt, grease, just about anything. Powering hands clean. I'm Roger Gustin. And friend, when I talk power, I know what I'm talking about.
Lava, liquid or bar. Powers hands clean.
Explosive. Get the biggest stories from the fastest tracks with Bob Jenkins and Larry Nuber host ESPN Speed Week. Thursday nights at 7:30 Eastern, only on ESPN.
Well, now we get down to the serious business. Lap number 21 has just been completed. There is first and there is second. Lindley and Halsmer. Only less than 4 laps to go now, and the question is, can Lindley hold off this Halsmer challenge, or has Pete laid back and will now turn up the wick and go into the lead in a very short time?
The real key here, Bob, is for Les Lindley to not get preoccupied with the mirrors. He has to use them, but more importantly, intellectually, he has to make some guesses as to where Pete Halsmer might attempt at making moves on him and take that lane away like he did just there, coming down past the speed trap. He did not give Pete enough room on the left-hand side. He was going into turn number 5. He knew he had to take basically his line to keep up his speed, but not give quite enough room to Halsmer as they went down the hill. He did it right there. It was a combination of just kind of every once in a while glancing at the mirrors, but more importantly, intellectually thinking it through, remembering where the best line is at the next turn. Is it a right-hander? Is it a left-hander? Is it uphill? Is it downhill? Where could Halsmer get the most momentum? I got to take that lane away.
While we're watching first and second here, we'll tell you that Deborah Gregg continues to run third. Then in fourth position is the number 77 car of Jerry Thompson. And fifth is Jim Durhog. Sixth unofficially is the 38 car of Jim Fitzgerald. Then in seventh is car number 50, Bruce Nesbitt. And in eighth position is car 81, driven by Paul Gentilossi. The 65 car of Dick Danielson has been in the top 5 until just...
Halsmer's got him, Bob. Halsmer got the line going to the Canada corner.
He finally takes the lead from Les Lindley.
Pete Halsmer used all the RPMs and all the horsepower going down the back section of the racetrack through the kinks and going into Canada corner, outbrake Lindley. Now, does Lindley have enough? Let's see what happens as they come around the very slow turn number 14, uphill down the front stretch. Will the horsepower in Halsmer's car pull him away? And can Lindley come back? Does he have anything left? Remember, the car should be superior in the curvy sections of the race course.
Well, my prediction is now that Pete Halsmer will stretch it out and make a shambles, but I don't know. Look at Lindley trying to get the line on the inside going to turn 1. Doesn't get it accomplished. And Pete Halsmer holds on to the lead, and I think we have seen the final pass of the race, Larry.
Well, let's see. Les Lindley certainly showed something that I don't think Pete Halsmer really expected, and that was picking up momentum coming up the front stretch there. I don't think Peter would have ever expected Les to give him a challenge going into turn number 1, but they both had to be perfect to keep their relative positions there. Let's see if Lindley still has what it takes as they come down this another straight section, the second straightaway on the course, and as they move up through the S turns and up along Hoerr Downs, that's where Lindley should be able to catch up.
There's turn number 5, now uphill, but Halsmer still has the advantage. Remember last year, Pete Halsmer had a very interesting conclusion to the Trans Am Series, in which he and Klaus Ludwig were involved in a bit of a shunt in St. Petersburg, Florida, as he wrapped up the season with a victory there, and as we said, has already won twice this year and appears to be on his way to victory in the Road America Trans Am race. Now stretching it out just a little bit, that's Pete Halsmer. We'll be back with more after this.
Nature can be devastating. The wood on your home needs protection. A water sealer waterproofs. Olympic Clear Wood Preservative does too. And Olympic gives you linseed oil that strengthens wood fibers. And additives to resist mildew. And preservatives to resist rot. Because wood needs a lot more than just waterproofing. Water sealers fade by comparison. Olympic, protecting wood for over half a century.
True Value hardware stores present a sneak preview of great values in the Fall Preview Circular. Choose the Master Mechanic single bit axe, maul, or sledgehammer, just $9.99 each. This Contico round trash can with sturdy lid is just $8.99. Get the Dorset 2 entry lock and deadlock by Kwikset for only $17.88. And True Value alkaline batteries in assorted sizes and packs are just $1.39, now showing at participating True Value hardware stores and home centers.
Lap number 24. We're working the 24th lap, so this time around we'll have one more lap to go, and Pete Halsmer has the lead over Les Lindley, with Deborah Gregg still running in third. And it's been a steady progression to the front for Deborah Gregg. She has to be one of the stars of this show as far as I am concerned. On the very first lap she was 10th, and she has moved up steadily since then to the third. Here's Gary.
Now, keep in mind, gentlemen, if Deborah is able to finish third, this would be the highest finish ever for a female in Trans Am competition. She has finished fourth this season, in fact. And Lynn St. James, our ESPN commentator on the IMSA circuit, has finished 4th in years past. But this, a 3rd place, would be the best finish ever for a lady in Trans Am competitions. Good ride for Debbie.
Yeah, Lynn St. James had a 4th in 1983, and Janet Guthrie had a 4th place finish in Trans Am competition in 1978. But Deborah could be on her way to setting the mark for women in Trans Am competition. She is 3rd.
Also makes you wonder, Bob, if the first false start would have counted. She came out of the blocks, remember, in 3rd.
Did she?
I wonder if she could have finished even a little higher. By the way, the number 65 car of Dick Danielson was running in 4th position. He has dropped out of the race. Jerry Thompson has moved up to 4th. There are the leaders, 1st and 2nd, Halsmer and Lindley. In 5th is Jim Durhog. 6th is Jim Fitzgerald, Paul Newman's teammate. 7th is Bruce Nesbitt. Gentilossi has dropped back to 8th. And Larry Park is currently running in the 9th position. So there are the cars that have stayed up among the leaders in terms of the top 10 in the race here at Elkhart.
Pete Halsmer from Anaheim, California, formerly from Lafayette, Indiana, is leading this race by about 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds over Les Lindley. We've only had 3 leaders, and we are on the final lap of the race. Scott Pruitt led lap number 1, later fell out of the race with an apparent overheating problem. Les Lindley led laps 2 through 21, and on the 22nd lap, Pete Halsmer went into the lead, and he has about a half a lap to go before his 3rd Trans Am victory of 1987.
This race having a dramatic effect in the point standings. The leader, as we told you, Scott Pruitt, is a very comfortable lead in points by like 60 points coming into today's race. But 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th in points are all finishing in the top 5 today, so it's really going to tighten things up.
The crew waits anxiously for Pete Halsmer to come around this final time. They'll be celebrating his win.
Out of the carousel, down through the Kettle Moraine sweep, around the kink right there on the back section. You can see Peter's really hanging it out. This is a very precarious part. This is where K.L. Fabi went off course and went through the trees. It's where Jose Garza flipped a couple seasons ago. Now down to the end of the backstretch. Canada Corner, where Pete Halsmer got the lead, and now they're moving into Thunder Valley, so-called because you can see the trees and the walls get very close. It's like thundering through a valley with close walls. Then they approach turn number 14, the flattest part of the race course and the slowest part. And then Pete Halsmer goes up to the gears and heads for the finish line. There it is.
Off of corner number 14. Chirps the tires just a little bit coming off there. And here comes Pete Halsmer to the line, and the checkered flag drops. Pete Halsmer wins. Les Lindley finishes in 2nd position. And Deborah Gregg will finish 3rd. And the cold water treatment on one of the crew members in the Jack Roush stable. Great win for Pete Halsmer, who led only 3 laps, but they were the most important 3 laps.
Well, he won by 1.63 seconds over Les Lindley, but the time, I don't know, is what is so important. It was the fact that Les was able to stay close after Peter took the lead, and Lindley gets his 2nd career 2nd place finish in Trans Am.
And here are the top 10. Halsmer wins, Lindley 2nd, Deborah Gregg finishes 3rd, then Jerry Thompson and Jim Durhog. Finishing in 6th was Jim Fitzgerald, Paul Newman's teammate. Paul out on the first full start. 7th place was Bruce Nesbitt. 8th was Paul Gentilossi, who ran 2nd for a while. 9th was Craig Schaefer, and 10th was Del Russo Taylor. Let's go to victory lane. Here is Gary Lee.
Well, Pete, congratulations. The first thing you said was thank you to the crew for giving you the car. But I have to ask, did the race finally come back to you? Was Les setting a pace too fast for Pete Halsmer?
I was hoping so, because I was concerned about brakes every time you come here. And luckily, I've been here a few times, and you have to be really concerned about brakes at this track, and especially heavy cars like these. And I was real concerned about it. And I wanted to try and run a pace that I knew I could make the brakes, or felt like I could make the brakes live, and it seemed like that's how it worked out. And fortunately, he really kind of eased off in one spot back there where there was an oil flag, and sort of gave me a really opportune shot to get by him, because the brakes were getting a little soft, and I was a little concerned about them, so I was glad to do it there if I could do it at all.
You're saying maybe he heated the flag and you didn't.
Yeah, well, it says oil, so you're on your own. It doesn't say you have to go any speed.
All right, there it is. Another victory at Elkhart Lake for the guy from West Lafayette, Indiana, Pete Halsmer.
Deborah.
Second year in a row that Pete Halsmer pulls off a victory in the Trans Am here at Road America. Once again, finishing in second position was Les Lindley, and third was Halsmer's teammate, Deborah Gregg. We thank you very much for being with us. And for Gary Lee in the pit area and Larry Nuber in the booth, this is Bob Jenkins. For now, so long, everyone.